I've been ready since 7:30 to do this.
I'm sorry.
I woke up at
Technically,
6.
we were supposed to start at 7:30, and then it took long at Tim Hortons. It took me forever to figure out how to get GarageBand working, and now it's working. And now George is
looking his
licking his
balls.
butt.
Hi.
Why does he just have to find everything loud right when we're...
This is the curse of Roomtown.
You know, also, Asha, you could take your mask off.
Well, I'm just keeping it on because it's like a chin warmer.
Okay. Well, welcome to this morning's episode of Mixed Reviews.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. Today we are joined with our new person, George.
Can you hear him meowing?
Just a little bit, well, not meowing. Oh, he goes right back to it. Too.
Yeah, I was trying to distract him from the thingamajig.
Okay, I think I'm just going to put him away.
What just happened?
This is the morning that is not going to plan.
But yes, today we are joined with our new...
Like your
Asha.
personal assistant. I don't know. Not yours.
PA.
a
Yeah.
PA, a production assistant.
The intern.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The intern. The
I like
unpaid
it.
intern.
I like it.
The gal behind the screen.
The girl in the chair.
Yeah. We're all in chairs.
we
technically.
are.
Anyways, what movie are we watching today, Tom?
We are watching
The Batman.
Batman.
The Batman.
The Batman.
The Batman.
With Cedric Diggory.
That's who I think of when I think of the new Batman movie.
It's a bit different because we're currently recording the podcast of a movie that's not even out of theaters yet. Came out, what, a week ago?
Yeah.
How many times have we seen it?
But
Too many times.
it's a good movie. I really like it.
I agree. It was good the first 2 times.
All right, let's go skim through this movie for the 100th time.
Yeah, I'm down.
All right, welcome back. That movie is so good, man.
You're preaching to the Ave Maria choir here, buddy.
Asha, if you could rate this movie out of 10, what would you rate it?
8.
Ooh.
That's pretty good.
I think I'd give it an 8 too.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe an 8, maybe a 9,
A 9.
maybe.
Okay, there, Rotten Tomatoes. Well, you know how this works. I unlike first episode, I didn't have much of a problem coming up with things I didn't love. Shockingly, I like the movie a lot, but I definitely pick up quite a few things this go. So, I'm ready. I'm excited to get into this.
Yeah.
I think we should probably say, if you haven't seen The Batman, this is a
Spoiler.
Spoiler movies.
Can we talk about the Riddler?
Yeah, of course.
That was like one of my favorite parts of the movie. He was so dope.
Yeah.
It was so cool.
Super different version of the Riddler compared
Yeah.
to like the old Jim Carrey.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, what were
But,
your
like,
thoughts? Give me your ideas.
Well, one thing, compared to the Jim Carrey version, he's a bit more real, I think. A little more like Zodiac killery. And I found that
For
really
sure.
interesting. Some of my favorite things about Riddler and well, just the characters in general is how well the characters were kind of written for the most part. I just feel like the Riddler as a character like looked up to the Batman sort of.
Yeah.
Like he was
Yeah.
kind of like that like Syndrome in Mr. Incredible. Like
Yeah.
when Syndrome was a kid, like he's like wants to be his little side man.
Little side
Like
man.
he just wants Batman. They're like he thinks they're working together. Like he's like,
Yeah.
we're gonna be safe here. That was pretty cool. And then Batman sees how the Riddler sees it, and then you
Yeah.
see how bad he is when the guy's like, I'm vengeance.
Oh yeah.
He
Oh,
calls him
gosh.
out, and then
The vengeance moments. So
it was
good.
so good.
Totally agree with you. Riddler was so good. It was my favorite part of the movie. Anything to do with the Riddler was just intense, on the edge of my
Mhm.
seat the whole time.
The first time when he kills the mayor,
Yeah, at the very beginning of the movie.
like the way he went, like when he sits down on him and pulls the duct tape out, it was just like this. It was like he's just the amount of like pleasure he gets from
Yeah.
killing this guy, like in a wicked way, is like actually kind of really cool to see.
Yeah, and super creepy.
Super creepy.
It was like
Sets up how like deranged this guy is.
throughout the movie you see like his whole plan unfolding bit by bit as we solve the riddles.
Yeah.
And that first moment of the movie of him killing the mayor himself, like in cold blood, the way he does with the carpet tool, because you get that really neat close-up shot of it when it like flies out of his hand across the room. How big of a moment that would have been for him. So those moments where
first kill.
Yeah, he takes that second to like really enjoy it. It was so creepy and it's disgusting to me. I was watching that and it was like super, almost puked because I was freaked out about how strong he must have been to rip that duct tape perfectly the first try.
that was something I definitely thought it was like. How many takes was that before they ripped it properly?
Oh, our department definitely cut a little snip in it for sure. I like him. One thing, I guess I grew up on the Jim Carrey Riddler, and Zodiac Riddler in one aspect was so good and like a really good change for this universe of Batman. I really wish there is like a little bit of Jim Carrey Riddler still in it. Right. I guess they did. They did have the glasses. They kept the glasses in, same glasses that J-Dog had at the beginning.
A little bit in the funeral. He's over like FaceTime with them. And they had fun little game show countdowns.
Yeah.
Like there's a bit of it there, but like definitely not to the extent.
No, for sure. At least an homage. I liked it. It was really good. Anything else to say about Riddler then? Because we have the big bad bat we can still talk about.
Very interesting Batman.
I'm very happy with this Batman. I love the way Matt Reeves did the Batman for this one. Kept him very grizzled and very tortured, which is a Batman that we've had off and on, but not consistently.
Right.
Whereas this one is consistently Batman. He's been Batman at this point for 2 years. So that's all he is now. He's barely Bruce Wayne. When he is Bruce Wayne, he's still Batman.
Yeah.
You know?
When he's at the funeral, he's still
there.
He's still working. He's scouting for the Riddler.
He's there on Batman business. He's not there because he really cares. He's there because he wants to find the Riddler. And I like that he knows different strengths depending on who he is, right? I think one of my favorite moments, he visits the nightclub, I think, 3 times throughout the movie. First time he goes in, guns blazing as Batman,
right?
Because he needs to talk to Penguin, and he can't just walk in. Otherwise, he's not going to get his audience, so he breaks his way in. The second go in, he needs to talk to Falcone, the big bad guy at the nightclub, and he knows
he's not going to break in.
No, he's not going to get to Falcone as Batman. It's not happening. So he goes as Bruce Wayne. And then on the third go, he knows he needs to get to Falcone as Batman. So he sneaks in because he knows either one won't get him
like
there.
As the shadowy character.
Yeah, the little in between Batman character.
He's got the eyeshadow, but he doesn't have the suit yet.
Yeah, exactly. I love that scene when he comes back and talks to Alfred after his first night in the movie. And it's bright out and he's got the sunglasses like ready to go. And it shows it a couple times. He's nocturnal. He says it himself.
You not like anything about Batman?
It's hard to say. It's a comic book movie. So DC definitely likes to make sure they're lively with their old comic book stuff, which is super cheesy. Right. So I think if I had anything to judge, it's the whole like, who are you? I am vengeance thing. Like the one-liners, the super cheesy niche character of Batman being this super edgy, super dark and brooding character works, but also sometimes it's like
it's a little cheesy.
Of course he just said I am vengeance because that's the coolest thing he could have said in this moment, which makes it so not cool.
Yeah.
But it pays off.
Yeah, at least the vengeance, yeah.
And as a character, he's my favorite Batman so far. Christian Bale was good, but Robert Pattinson is like top tier for me right now because he was so good with the performance as the super intimidating dude. And he also gets pretty messed up a few times. I really like that decision to show him get hurt.
I also really liked Alfred in this movie. Alfred felt very different to me in this movie because he seemed a lot more like Bruce Wayne's assistant than Batman's assistant.
Yeah.
Like, he's not there like, hey, there's crime going on in here. Like, you got to go here. Like, no, he's like, He's coming to him about finance stuff for Wayne Enterprises and ends up staying to solve Riddle's stuff. But he cares more about Bruce than what he's doing.
For sure.
And I think that was very interesting.
They really did a great job of making Alfred Bruce Wayne's moral center. Because he, pretty much out of everybody except for the Riddler, Alfred talks about Bruce Wayne's dad more than anyone. And is always praising him. It's always, your father was a great man. Oh, he gave me the Wayne cufflinks on top of trying to be amazing for Bruce Wayne just as a person when he can. Just shows like a very good, it's a good Alfred. You can't really, that's what you got to chalk it up to. Andy Serkis is amazing. One of my favorite actors. One of my problems with Alfred is that he wasn't in the movie enough.
Yeah.
I liked him too much. I wanted to see more of him. And another thing too about him is he exposition dumped a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Which was unfortunate because you have...
What do you mean by exposition?
So exposition, right, is where you tell your story through a lot of dialogue instead of showing things. So you get a lot of dialogue from Alfred about the history of Thomas Wayne when he's in the hospital bed. Instead of show flashbacks, or you would show scenes from the past that he's talking about to establish that information that's being given to our character versus just telling the character. It has its place, but unfortunately Alfred happened to be one of the exposition vessels of this movie, and kind of creates a little bit of a what if situation with the Falcone information. He knew the whole time that Falcone possibly killed Thomas Wayne for various reasons, but didn't even bother to mention it to Bruce Wayne, and could have solved a lot of these emotional problems for him that he's struggling with. It's a debatable point.
That's true. I'm sure he had his reasons if it was.
Yeah.
Right? Want to talk about Falcone?
Falcone, yeah.
Falcone.
Sure. It's not Falcone, right?
No, I don't. Falcone. Sorry, I love the noir, like Brooklyn voices in this
Penguin,
movie.
man, he's fine. We'll get to Penguin after, but yeah, Falcone. He was a mob guy. He's the big bad mob guy you get in every mob movie. He wasn't anything special to me.
Really?
He was good. Performance was really good.
That is very true. It's funny. I saw him in something else like the next day, and he was this fun guy, and I laughed so hard. I'm like, I just saw this guy beat the crap out of people, and now I'm seeing him fun.
It was kind of confusing as like a story writer point of view to have these two big bad guys the whole way through. I guess Falcone was a way that they could tie in their B plot with their A plot, but with everything going on with the Riddler, and then Falcone was introduced as like this huge thing, I was confused. Are we getting Falcone? Is that the win when he died? Right. But oh wait, no, the Riddler's still alive. You know, did I care about Falcone as much as the Riddler? Definitely not.
No,
I think just because he was such a staple in many films.
It's like kind of like you were more scared of the Riddler than Falcone, and that like it should have been the other way, I feel.
Yeah, that's what the movie kind of wants you to think halfway through, right? Because then you get all that information about what Falcone did to the Waynes.
Yeah.
How Falcone's running the city, but then out of nowhere, he's just gone. But then you're like, oh crap, the Riddler's still there. I feel like if Falcone was a bigger presence and a lot scarier.
Like, it was more of just this looming guy kind of throughout the movie.
Yeah, he didn't do anything. It's all about what he used to do.
Right.
But right now, he's not doing anything aside from reaping the rewards and playing pool.
Yeah.
Strangling his daughter.
Strangling his daughter, yeah. But yeah, that's my thoughts. He was good. He wasn't the best. Not my favorite part, that's for sure.
One of my favorite parts is the penguin, though.
Yeah, the other stool pigeon.
The penguin!
Ah.
That was the worst.
What are you showing me for?
What are you showing? Look at it!
Open your eyes!
Man, even in the end of that scene under the bridge, when he's all tied up and starts waddling away,
yeah,
I laugh every time. It's because quite literally the penguin waddle.
Oh, yeah.
Insane. What a great makeup team on that. Because Colin Farrell, unrecognizable.
Beautiful.
Just, Like I hadn't seen lots of stuff for this movie before I went to see it because I didn't want any spoilers.
Yeah.
I had no idea he was in the movie.
Yeah.
If I'm being 100% honest.
Yeah.
So when I saw him, I'm like, oh, that guy is perfect for the role. And then it's like Colin Farrell in the credits. I'm like, what?
The makeup was too good. I loved it.
Yeah.
I have nothing bad to say about the Penguin.
Oh, he was perfect.
That car chase sequence.
Oh, that car. Oh, well, go. I want to get into that
Yeah.
later. We have some good points from that.
Who else do we got here? We have Jim Gordon.
James.
Usually, Batman has him as the commissioner, but he was just a
Forgot about
detective
that.
on this one,
Yeah.
which I
They didn't give him power though, and I like that.
no, he did. He had credit, right, with the police, but that's all he had. He didn't have power. I liked that because Batman's been doing this for 2 years. Jim Gordon has also been doing it for 2 years with him. So you get a good sense of their trust that they have built up with each other based on how much Batman leans on Jim Gordon for his detective.
And I mean, despite not knowing who he is and joking about that,
Yeah,
Jim trusts Batman
For sure.
very much.
for sure.
Very much. I'm sorry, that was
Very, very much. But the thing I have a problem with is he's a very flat character, I find, in comparison to everything else going on.
right.
And I felt he just started to turn into Batman's backstage pass to the evidence,
Right.
you know?
He was his way onto
His way to-
onto set, onto the crime scene.
Yeah. And it's like he didn't really do much. He was just there as Batman was solving these crimes.
I mean, Batman did most of the
Yeah.
idea.
When
Really.
Gordon was the detective, technically. Overall, I'm a fan of him.
One of the cops I did like though was Martinez. I mean, I already said that.
Yeah.
But
Everyone, I think, loved Martinez.
he's so good, and especially when he's like he hates Batman. He's
Yeah.
like, what a weirdo.
Yeah.
And then when he sees Bruce Wayne, it's such the opposite.
Oh my God, it's Bruce Wayne.
Hey, Bruce Wayne!
With a big old
I
smile on
laughed.
his face.
It was funny when we went to see it together in the theater.
Yeah.
It was so funny how I laughed, and I don't think anyone else in the theater laughed, but I just thought it was so funny.
I love that he's the keep watch guy.
Mhm.
Consistently. He's the keep watch cop in every scene Batman breaks in.
Yeah, right?
He's just Martinez is there. He's the keep watch guy when he's at the morgue.
Yeah.
He's keeping watch for Jim Gordon and Batman.
It's so good. You kind of see him start to like Batman, and by the end,
Yeah.
he's they're just chilling at the
Yeah.
last scene.
I really like how Martinez gave that bit of information from a story
Yeah.
writing standpoint. It could have been anyone being like, oh, it looks like a carpet tool.
They could have said it in the scene before when they're all like everyone's in there.
Yeah, but no one caught it. That could have been anyone that just knows what it is. But it was nice that a character we've seen consistently through the movie had that carry for the plot in a very realistic way. It wasn't like out of nowhere, no reasoning. He's like, oh yeah, I know that because my uncle or something.
Is Martinez like an actual character in the comics and stuff?
Oh, I'm not actually sure.
Yes, he is in the
His name
comics,
is Martinez?
apparently. It says Alvaro Martinez.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look at more sources. That's
Is he the keep watch cop in the comics?
I don't know if they'll say that.
Probably not. That's funny though.
Another, since we have the comics here, Falcone and Catwoman in this movie are father and daughter, which isn't a comic thing.
Yeah, I remember you bring that up.
Falcone has a daughter, Sophia, but it isn't.
Isn't that her name in the movie?
No.
Catwoman's name?
No, it's Selena Kyle.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Selena
I just saw
Kyle.
the S. You're right.
Pretty
What did you think of her?
Oh, buddy.
No,
No.
I'm gonna agree with you a little bit.
Yeah, I think I might.
I just think it could have been better.
Oh, 100%.
Her character could have been better.
Yeah. So as a character, right, Catwoman has always been that sneaky thief character, kind of selfish. You see the character type in everything, right? But what I really didn't like is she's played off as this very skilled, very experienced kind of thief.
Yeah,
and
she's picking locks and she's
she's cracking safes out of nowhere. She's very elegant with what she does, which is very consistent, but this movie lacks consistency, right? Like when Batman's tailing her as she's on her way to the mansion to pick the passport back up, he's within earshot of her, and she just doesn't catch him until he's in the room with her as Batman.
Already on the ground, grappling hook,
Yeah.
retracting.
It's difficult to buy that.
Just because she would notice.
For sure. The only good thing I've heard people say about Catwoman in this movie is that she was hot. I don't think I've heard one piece of good praise aside from that.
That's a bit of a problem.
Yeah, coming out of a movie, you don't want that. You don't want your audience to be like, yeah, she was hot and that was it.
You have a good opportunity for a good female lead character, and it was kind of just wasted on traditional. Asha wants to chime in.
Yeah,
Can
what's
I
up?
add?
Yeah. Let's not have two straight white guys commenting on.
No,
women
yeah.
for-
I don't know. I feel like in the movie she just played like a character that needed to be saved 24/7. Like in the
The
beginning.
damsel in distress.
Yeah, exactly. Damsel in distress. And I was like, isn't she supposed to be like a girl boss? That's what I thought walking
Yeah.
into the movie. And then like she's an idiot. Like at the beginning, Batman has to be like, oh no, there's a security guard coming, and then like shut her up.
Yeah.
What?
Well,
Very
that
true.
fight was
What?
so loud.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
yeah.
For both of them being, especially her being so sneaky, their fight there was so loud
Right.
in the mayor's house.
You'd think both of them would know that wouldn't be a smart idea. But it goes to show the writing. When you were right, they promoted Catwoman in this movie as a selling point as a strong, independent female character, which we've seen. It's a thing. There are a lot of movies that do that very well. This movie is
A lot
not
of movies
one
that
of them.
don't do it very well, too.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, including this one.
And you'd expect a blockbuster hit to do it well, which it didn't. The writing to have Catwoman at the beginning sets her up as strong, independent, and capable, and then quickly falls apart once they introduce Batman.
Like, so much dialogue is there. Like, when he says, take care, and she's like, I can. But then there's
She
times
can't.
she can't.
No.
And that's annoying.
And then, I don't know about you, I hate the fact that they introduced any kind of romance to these two characters. Because friendships exist, partnerships exist without romance.
I'd rather see that in
Yeah.
a movie than...
There's a way to do it, but in this one, I think it was super cliche, in poor taste.
And that relationship did not feel real.
No, she was super sexualized the whole way. He was too.
Yeah. I mean, he was creepily, like, very
Yeah.
creepily watching her.
Did you see the
That was
thing?
so
You see the thing
unnecessary.
what Danny DeVito tweeted recently? It was about a different movie, but it was kind of hilarious if you compare it to this situation. I think, yeah, Danny DeVito tweeted.
A photo of his foot?
No. Yeah, probably. But no, he tweeted, if a romance movie is going to work properly, cast me as the male lead. And and if it becomes creepy, it's not a good romance.
I like that a lot. That is awesome.
So think about Danny DeVito as
Really?
Batman and Catwoman.
This would have been...
This would have been disgusting. But no, I hate to say it because I wanted it to be good, but I couldn't. Like, she had no motivation. Her plot was very boring.
It was really... All she was there for was, I think, to get Batman to Falcone, I think, a little bit.
Yeah. In my opinion, too, you didn't need to end the movie with them.
No. I really don't think that scene at the end was necessary.
No.
It was kind of like, oh. Like, we just saw the coolest scene there at the end. And even, like, you could have ended on the Arkham scene.
Oh,
It would have
yeah.
been so awesome. That would have been, like, a perfect end scene, too,
Yeah.
right?
The Joker scene.
But I really did not enjoy that ending.
You got an amazing finish with the Batman character making his change. But then out of nowhere, the scenes to close the movie out is with a character not many people loved and a very, very long motorcycle sequence for no reason. It's like, oh yeah, one motorcycle shot's very pretty, but then there's another,
And then there's another.
and then another,
And
and
yes,
then
they're pretty, but...
and then another motorcycle shot where they stop and then they go again, and then it's... I get what they were trying to do, but I don't think it worked at all for me. Asha, what do you think about the ending? Were you satisfied with it being...
No.
No?
I think I was expecting "See You Again" by Wiz Khalifa to start playing as they went in different directions. It was really stupid, and I didn't think the romance contributed to the plot, like, whatsoever.
I think Tim Burton did a better job at that than...
Yeah.
Was that Anne Hathaway? Was that one?
Halle
in-
Berry. Oh no, it was Anne Hathaway, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
and Tim Burton's. That's one I haven't seen. I've seen a lot of, but I haven't actually seen that one.
Also, man, all the riddles that brought Batman through the whole movie.
They were easy. Those riddles, like the riddles weren't easy. Batman getting them, I think, was way too easy.
Batman is so smart, apparently. I'm going to emphasize the word apparently. What does a liar do when he's dead? He lies still. Batman gets it in like 2 seconds, right?
He lies still. He definitely got it before he said it. You know, he's
Yeah, he's just waiting for his moment. But then with the cipher, it's like, oh,
what if we just delete all these letters?
instead of solving the cipher, let's just do this thing.
And then he instantly just knows he has to go to the card. Like, there's no time to think and stew in this movie.
And although no one wants to watch people thinking in a movie, it's struggles on struggles to buy the fact that they're getting it that easily and they're just doing things that easily.
If this was real, he'd be standing in the grocery store checkout line and be like, thumb drive!
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
No,
how did I
for
miss
sure.
it? Right, you know?
But then the next one just bothered me because they were put on the clue of El Rata Alada. And it's
Which
stated
Alfred solved.
so early. He goes, oh, this guy's Spanish isn't very good. Which
Yeah.
it's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, Batman knew that.
But then he still decided to chase down Penguin. And then Penguin's the one who tells him it's La Rata Alada. And then, boom, URL. He has it in 5 minutes. Oh, it's a website. While he's still standing there with the Penguin, it bothered me. No one would just think URL Rata Alada. No one would. Not even Batman. I think that would take a couple of days for him to figure out it's a URL link. It's so unnecessarily convenient to the plot that Batman got it at that moment.
I didn't realize it until the time I watched it with you that he actually says URL. I just thought he would say URL Radalada. That went over my head.
Yeah. It's something I think went over a lot of people's heads.
It took him no time to really realize.
But at the same time, Alfred also already pointed it out to him.
But does that contradict our thing of us saying it's taken him too little time to realize things?
That's my big thing, is it's the inconsistency. He gets some super easily, but then I think it's a little sloppy. It takes me out of it. My catchphrase takes me out of it.
You got to make like shirts that say that.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know, it just took me out of it.
One thing that bugged me that was a little like kind of like a missed thing that like I think would have been caught on earlier. Kind of like it doesn't really matter because who's really thinking about it. But my brain, as soon as I saw the photos that Riddler first releases the photos of the mayor and Annika. It was the first thing I thought of. Oh, where's that taken from? Because I'm like, that's going to give away where the Riddler is.
Yeah.
Assuming that he took those photos.
Yeah, and you could argue it's security camera footage of the entrance of the club, but then obviously later we learn that the Riddler's
apartment is
literally there. So it clicks later. Oh, this is exactly where the photos were taken from, is the window of his apartment.
Where he shoots Falcone from.
Yeah.
And when they shoot Falcone, they all look at a penguin, and as soon as they realize it wasn't Penguin, they all look up to Riddler, and then they're all like, there, look.
Yeah.
Actually, there! Not there, sorry. It was so bad. And then it doesn't match the rest of his line. It's just funny to me. But they all realize it there. They all look to where the gunshot came from. They would have probably looked where the photos came from. And that's their first search.
Seems like the cops on the payroll are the smartest cops on the force.
Yeah.
And all the dumb ones are too dumb. Yeah. Just exposition on exposition. I kind of talked about it a little bit earlier with Alfred, but there's just exposition on top of itself the whole way through. Falcone with exposition about Thomas Wayne.
And then Alfred with exposition on Thomas Wayne.
Right. The Riddler on exposition of why he's doing things.
Yeah, pretty much every scene where Batman's learning something is someone telling him stuff. And it's just kind of this like slow way of doing things.
Learning Catwoman is Falcone's daughter.
It's
she tells you, instead of the clues that you could drop throughout the entire, like in the dressing room, have different Kyles, because her mom's name is Maria Kyle. You could have in the dressing room S Kyle, M. Kyle, right? Or S. Falcone or Selena F. You know, you can give us visual clues throughout the entire story that will let us piece it as the audience together. And that's a big thing for an audience.
Giving stuff to them to piece together rather than having Batman instantly solve the riddle or having someone tell us something about
super
Bruce
crucial
Wayne.
details about characters that, as an audience member, you feel super satisfied when you figure things out.
Even if they end up saying it, you know it before they say it. Rather than if you're zoned out, then you miss it.
Yeah.
And that was probably the first watch for me, is I missed so much of the exposition because it was in the dialogue.
Yeah.
And it took me to the second watch to actually realize that.
So my second watch, I was in the theater with my friend Kevin, and he had to step out to go to the washroom halfway through the movie. And he comes back and he goes, "What did I miss?" You know what I had to tell him?
What?
Oh yeah, Falcone is her dad. That's what I had to tell my friend.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing leading up to it.
Mm-mm. It's like, oh, what? Really?
Yeah. He gets back from the washroom. He was gone for 2 minutes. And that entire twist of the entire second half of the movie was given to him because he missed the movie for 2 seconds.
That's why I refuse to go to washrooms during movies. And I'll instantly explode as soon as the movie's done.
But it's poor writing from anyone's perspective. You don't want that in your movie. They might not have had a choice, and that might have been the only way they could have gotten that information out with what they had dealt with them. But that's pretty much the only thing I would have changed with the entire movie that would make the payoff much more satisfying with "He's my father." You know, you don't need to change the whole movie, but maybe one or two tiny little things, like a check on her bed. Like, you know how Batman's in her apartment and sees the rent is overdue?
Yeah, maybe a check from Falcone.
A check from an anonymous person.
Yeah.
For what the money is
not
owed.
Alimony, what is it? Like child support.
Kinda. But they decided to play that he has no idea that she's his kid.
Even though I guess supposedly he did in the end. Welcome back. Oh, you know, I'm not going to say welcome back. If you're wondering why you haven't heard Asha's voice in a good hot minute, it's because we had a little scheduling mishap and Asha had to leave. But I did really enjoy her opinion, though, on her chimes and...
I did, too. It really saved us.
Yeah. I really enjoyed having you. But anyways, back to Batman.
Back to the good things about Batman. We've been on the bad
it's true. We should
downside of things for the last little bit, so we're getting ready to go.
I always want to say it. As much as we're being negative, and that's kind of what we want to do, I do want to say this movie is one of my new favorite movies.
Yeah, it is.
I may pull it apart and we may talk about reasons why it didn't work, but I love this movie. There was good writing in it. There was a lot of good moments, and I want to get into that a bit.
It's a huge difference between how we just praised us mad.
Yeah, it's true. That was a very difficult movie to pick apart for us too.
So let's get into it.
Yeah, I would say the tone of this entire movie, from everything from the characters to the sound design to the acting, it was just perfect.
They did an amazing job setting up the dark atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
And
this is dark Gotham.
Oh, Gotham.
Joker was kind of it looked very similar, but it was a lot brighter, a lot more colorful as the blues and the oranges.
Oh yeah.
This movie was dark.
Black.
You saw the nighttime of Gotham.
You mentioned Joker, which is a different Gotham than this one, right?
It looks very similar though.
It
Especially
does,
the train.
But what I like about this tone is Batman, normally in the original Batman comics, was almost like a horror. The environment and the tone, because this is what we're talking about, was very dark, very menacing, very brooding, not serious, nothing. Seriousness did not exist.
No dance sequence going down the stairs or anything.
No jokes were cracked. It was all very serious. And I like that this movie opened with that monologue about fear and showed fear in the criminals of Gotham's eyes with the shadows.
That so much. Even the guy with the mask, there was very good physical emotion there.
Yeah, the drop head.
Yeah.
That set the tone for the movie, and it kept it the whole way through, and that is phenomenal. Sometimes you lose tone midway through, albeit there were moments where that tone kind of faded, but it was held there through everything. The music, the sound effects. Oh God, the sound effects. We'll get there.
Whether it was an action sequence or like a sad scene, though, like it was still like a thriller. There was still times my heart was beating in my chest.
Yeah. I like that you said action, because I don't know if you caught this. Action sequences in most blockbuster movies are cut very heavily.
Very heavily.
Basically one cut per punch.
Yeah.
This film held action sequences for long takes, and it works so beautifully.
Yeah. It is a slower pace to it, but it like in a thriller you cut less because you drawn stuff, and it builds a suspense the more you stare at something. We talked about that in the Us episode.
Yeah.
They did that here, which allowed the thriller to stick with it
For sure.
despite it being an action scene.
And it, as an action sequence, the punches hit harder because they have to, because
the gunshots even too in the shootout right before the car chase hit very hard.
I love that the moments in the action need to hit hard because you have no assistance for editing.
Right.
Editors like to use a cut to force the audience to feel a certain way, and they kind of handicap themselves by holding longer takes for action sequences.
Right.
But the way they perform that action makes you feel it a lot more seriously than you would otherwise. And it's a masterclass, I think. A lot of action movies, I think, could benefit from longer takes, for sure.
I think one of like the kind of the most thrilling moments, but also just like one of the most like, oh, this is so tough. Like when you think Riddler knows Batman, but then he doesn't. Like that scene one was just acted so well, but it was also written so well. Having Riddler kind of being himself, kind of being a bit tricky and asking those rhetorical questions to Batman, talking about Bruce Wayne, really like sets it in your head that he knows Bruce Wayne is Batman.
Yeah.
But then he's just talking about Bruce Wayne. Even with when you go into the apartment and you see the thing on this bulletin board that says, I know you are your true self. It's not saying that Bruce Wayne is Batman. It's saying that, like, referring back to when Riddler's talking about how his mask was his true self. Yeah. He's referring to Batman in the same way. But the way he says it makes you think, oh, he knows Bruce Wayne. He knows the truth unmasked. Like, they set it up so well. Yeah. That literally the first time I watched it, I didn't pick up that he didn't know that Bruce Wayne was Batman. And I was just kind of confused for a second.
Yeah.
Until afterwards, me and my friends started talking about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, he didn't know.
You, my friend, just described a red herring.
Yeah.
Red herrings are so cool because a red herring doesn't exist, right? That's the whole reason thrillers and mysteries have this concept of a red herring. It's to mislead your audience from one expectation to then destroy that expectation with an even more interesting outcome. There were so many clues through the movie that prove that the Riddler didn't know, that you would miss until the reveal.
Why would he kill Bruce Wayne if he wants Batman sticking around?
Exactly.
Stuff like that.
The red herring of the for Batman, because he leaves the for Batman notes at every crime scene. The one he leaves for Bruce Wayne when he gives him the bomb is a "See you in hell" card.
It's not for Bruce Wayne to see.
No.
It's for the Batman to see, but you don't think about it because you know they're the same person.
So the whole movie sets you up to expect that the Riddler knows, to then subvert that expectation by showing he didn't.
So well.
It's a twist that I didn't catch, and it really paid off. Like, I was on the edge of my seat,
man.
That whole movie. It was
Good
awesome.
writing.
Another thing I love about the writing is the character consistency with Batman's planning throughout the movie. Because last episode we talked about act structure.
Right.
And in this, it's kind of interesting how they played with it, because the club is kind of like the central hub for the whole movie. And Batman, once an act, goes back to the club.
Yeah.
Depending on why he's going to the club, he uses different methods to infiltrate.
Right, you're right. We talked about this.
What I love about it is his first go around is to go to the Penguin and talk to the Penguin as Batman. He needs to get there as Batman, because the Penguin would not entertain Bruce Wayne with questions about the mayor. He has to fight his way halfway through the club, getting shot at, fighting these goons until the Penguin puts a stop to it and he has his little meeting.
Hey,
I'm Oz.
I'm Oz. Yeah, so good.
On the second go around, he needs to talk to Carmine Falcone. He needs information about the Wayne family, so he knows as Batman he's not getting anywhere because the goons are just going to be all over him. So he goes in as a Wayne family friend because of Falcone and Thomas Wayne were friends.
And we already see that first interaction where he's friendly with him.
Yeah, and then the final act where the final act, he needs to talk to Carmine Falcone as Batman.
Mm-hmm.
So he needs to get deep within the club, the 44 Below nightclub, the club within the club, as Batman.
Yeah.
So from previous experience, he already knows he can't go in the door as Batman, and he can't go in as Bruce Wayne because this is the takedown.
If he goes in as Bruce Wayne and comes out as Batman,
It's
everyone's gonna be
obvious.
like, yeah.
So that half between character where he's traveling the city, not being seen as Bruce Wayne, but not being the Batman, he
Being a
uses that.
shadow.
Yeah, he uses that to get in the nightclub and becomes Batman within the club. He infiltrates, and I just think that's phenomenal way to carry a character through the same setting.
Right.
For multiple different motivations. It's really good writing. It was really well done, I found. And it moves the plot very well.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you the plot answers you need. It gives you overall character development that it shows that Bruce Wayne thinks before he acts.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not easy to show, but I think this did a very, very good job.
I really hadn't thought about the 3-act structure as we were talking about this one. It's not something I was thinking of watching this movie. But definitely the first act, he's Batman. He's big, strong, force.
Mm-hmm.
And then a little more soft, especially with Catwoman around, with Alfred getting hurt, is kind of more act 2 into act 3.
Mm-hmm.
But once he starts noticing how useful Bruce Wayne can be, that, like, especially going to the funeral and stuff, that's when sort of we go into act 2 where he's a bit more Bruce Wayne and a little less Batman. And then once you get in the third act, it's like this fragile mix as he's kind of like learning the fragility between the two, how they could be useful, how they cannot be useful. And then especially when he starts questioning himself in the end as Batman, who is Batman, that's especially when it flips.
And it's good character growth because at the beginning of the movie, Alfred points out that he has a legacy to carry on as a Wayne. And there's a line, something along the lines of, this is my family's legacy as Batman. He's referring to being Batman. So it's really nice that you said the fragility between being Bruce Wayne and Batman and how he can use both to make a change, because the whole theme of the movie is making a change. He learns that Bruce Wayne has more power to make the change that he wants to make. And starts to utilize that within the story. And it's, like I said, it's phenomenal writing.
And a good hint towards it, which I guess kind of something you overlook, is that he doesn't want to be a part of the Bruce Wayne stuff when the accounting people come.
Mm-hmm.
But then when it benefits to the stuff, he's able to see when Bruce Wayne is more.
Yeah, and it's really good.
The cuffling scene definitely sets up the sensitivity of his legacy too.
I couldn't have said it any better myself. Like I mentioned, the theme of change. It's super important to him to make a change, but he learns that the change he's making versus the change he wants to make is not the same. And that is the switching point that happens is when the crony for the Riddler uses his line of "I am vengeance" against him after he pummels him. That to me is the switch in Batman that turns him from being the vengeance driven, the violent to a hero, right? It's a small change in the dialogue, but you see it with his actions afterwards, and he becomes the savior of everyone he becomes the savior of everybody in the stadium.
And you kind of see him starting to get, like, especially in that last act, he's starting to get a bit more frustrated, but more like controlling. So when they solve the case, sees the Riddler, like, shows him that his plan's not over. He gets all mad and starts banging. What did you do? What? And that's the start of kind of like his fall, really. He's frustrated with everything with Alfred. Like, all this stuff's piling on. And then finally it's injecting the serum, beating the crap out of the guy. And then he hears, "I am vengeance." And it clicks in his head what he's doing. Yeah. He just beat the crap out of a guy.
Yeah.
That is not him, really.
No. With the other Batmans, the Ben Affleck Batmans, he was very kill happy, which is a very big thing for Batman morally, is he doesn't kill people.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that this movie made him force himself into those morals, because they did a good job showing that he is lethal. He can be very aggressive and very, very dangerous to these people that he's getting in conflicts with.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that he clings so desperately onto the fact that he's not that person is an amazing character moment for this Robert Pattinson Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And I can definitely see it becoming a tool for character writing
Mm-hmm.
that he will start to struggle with, I think.
I will say there was lots of times in this movie I really enjoyed that music was used. There was a lot of like good music cues. I just really enjoyed that. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, this movie uses an awesome technique that you see everywhere called a leitmotif, which is a consistency of music that is tied almost one-to-one with a character or a theme. You see this so many places, like in Star Wars is the best example, on how Obi-Wan Kenobi has his very uprising theme.
Mm-hmm.
Darth Vader has his very powerful Empire soundtrack, right? That's the best example I can give you. But they do it so well in this film. Giacchino has, for Batman, the very traditional sounding Batman score. The thumping, the deep thumping, the swelling brass,
Mm-hmm.
the very heroic sound. He does
Nirvana a bit.
Nirvana was awesome.
Like gloomy Nirvana.
Yeah. And that set the tone for his character.
Mm-hmm.
So the score of the film carried it. And without a doubt, I think the best part of the movie, music-wise, is the Riddler's theme, Ave Maria.
Mm-hmm.
So well used, because anytime the Riddler's doing anything significant, that song
you hear that song.
is playing. An amazing example is diegetic sound in the church for the memorial.
What do you mean by diegetic sound?
So diegetic sound is pretty cool. It's when a film uses in-world atmospheric music as if it was actually happening and the characters in the movie can hear it.
So like someone playing something on the radio.
Yeah.
And then you hear that song.
Yeah, exactly. So the way they use it diegetically in this scene is the choir in the church is singing Ave Maria.
In the funeral?
Yeah, for the memorial. And we see non-diegetic, which is quite obviously the opposite of it, which is just music that's happening for the audience to hear, and it's not actually happening, which it opens with Ave Maria when the Riddler is looking through the window at the mayor's house.
Yeah.
That's non-diegetic. It's just the soundtrack of the film in the moment. But they use the same song for the Riddler in many different ways, and the way they use it is artful and very well made.
Right.
Ave Maria is playing over the speakers in the orphanage.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know something's going to happen because you hear his song, but it might not necessarily clue in. Like, I didn't notice it the first time I watched it, but it definitely adds that little bit of suspense because it's something you recognize and associate maybe unconsciously with the Riddler.
Definitely. And if it's done well, you don't think about it. It just is a feeling that is given to you, right? Again, I'll just draw it back to Darth Vader. In A New Hope, you hear the march and the lightsaber when Darth Vader is revealed at the beginning of the movie, and you don't say, oh, this is cool music for Darth Vader. Yeah. But you feel the empowerment that he has in those moments, and that carries with him throughout the entire movie. The instruments may change. The tempo, the pace of the song might change, but the song is the same.
Ave Maria may have a choir. It may be just the orchestral. It may just be...
Or Ave Maria in the explosion scene is sung by the Riddler.
Yeah.
And then it goes into the Batman's themes playing Ave Maria. So you hear the trumpets and the horns and the orchestra playing Ave Maria, which it's a classical piece of music usually sung by a choir, where when it's swelling up in the huge moment, Ave Maria is playing as the big climax is happening with Batman's music at the same time. And
it gives it a new meaning.
It really does. It shows that it's overpowering Batman because Ave Maria is taking over Batman's sound. So it's subconsciously it's the Riddler winning Batman,
Right.
winning over Batman because his song is playing in Batman's instruments. And it's a masterclass when done well.
One of the best like Riddler moments though is when Alfred's opening the bomb. What a great use of time as well. You think it's happening as he's driving back. You think he's about to open it. And then like because you hear the phone in the background ringing. It may not be when he's opening that package because you don't hear any other sound like him opening the letter or anything. It's all silent, but you hear the phone ringing.
Right.
Because it's from like time to come. It's like an hour has passed when he phones. The best reveal though is by far when you see Dory on the phone and he's like, tell Alfred something's about to happen. She said already has. The best cut in that is when it's close up on her. You don't see any of the effects of the fire yet. And then the fireman passes. You go to the wide and you see the damage is done. And then it's like click of, oh no, he's too late. Then she says it's been an hour. It happened about an hour ago. To me, that was the best way to reveal that. The suspense was so high you think he has a chance. But no, it happened way too soon, way earlier.
I agree. That just goes to show the power of editing.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually a technique, if I remember correctly, is called elliptical editing or non-continuity editing, which it uses continuity against itself. So it takes time and distorts it within the edit.
Because if you were editing with continuity, it would be happening in the occurrence of events.
Yeah. When he gets there, it would have already happened, and you would find out, oh, it already happened. But by using Ave Maria, the sound, with the phone ringing, the car zooming back to the tower, only to then get told he didn't even have a chance, hits you harder than if he just got there without having a chance.
Yeah.
It's a technique that you don't see often because it is pretty difficult to pull off, but there are a lot of films like it that use it amazing. Memento, if you've ever seen it, by Christopher Nolan, I'm pretty sure, is an example. If you haven't seen that movie, go watch it. Memento.
That's one maybe we should do a podcast on.
Yeah. Cinematography, just in general, I think, for this movie is something we haven't seen in a Batman movie before, and it was so good.
Nolan movies look very good, but they were dark. This movie lit well, and looked very nice.
A huge thing that I loved about it is camera placement. A lot of people look at cinematography as just lighting most of the time.
Yeah.
This movie really took advantage of what a camera can do in certain places. And my only example that I need to mention is the Batmobile sequence, where you have the camera almost the entire time mounted on the exterior of the vehicle, or meant to look like it is on the exterior of the vehicle, which is so cool. You have shots of Penguin inside his car with the camera mounted on the outside, so you can still see everything happening behind him.
When he's laughing, when he's driving away thinking Batman's dead, then Batman comes through.
Yeah, flies up off, he flies up, but it's kind of a shot out of the rear view mirror of it. And then when Batman takes his car out, it's a shot mounted to the rear of the Batmobile, and you see the Lexus or whatever the car is flying out with the Batmobile's rear in the foreground.
And then you go to the camera mounted on the inside as it flips, so you're flipping with the car rather than
just looking at it, right? And it's camera placement like that which sets this movie apart from a lot of different action movies, because it almost relies on those shots, and I think it stylizes it super well.
You're attached to the action, especially like the flying sequence when he turns his cape into the little wingsuit and jumps off the building. Very awesome sequence. And then the only time you're not mounted to Batman is the shot looking out the window, where you see just how fast he really is going, where he just goes right past the building.
It's so good.
Adds so much speed to that sequence.
That's the most noteworthy cinematography aside from the lighting for me, that I loved it. It was so unique.
You're attached to the action.
Yeah. Especially on Batman sometimes when he's escaping the police building, you're on his arm from the hook shot, right? In both angles.
Yeah.
So it's so cool. And I'm really impressed at how they did it, and they pulled it off very, very well.
Yeah, I loved it.
But talk about lighting a bit.
Yeah.
You're a bit more of a lighting guy than I am,
Yeah.
so I want to hear your
I'm a bit of a-
thoughts.
When it comes to director of photography, I'm a lot more of a gaffer than I am a technical.
Yeah, and I'm opposite. I'm a tech guy. I like it a lot more.
Which is funny because I love tech stuff and it's interesting to me. But I think one of the things I liked a lot was a lot of times with like gun stuff, the muzzle flashes are fake. Like if you see the new Matrix movie, you don't see the light actually reflecting back when they shoot the gun. It's just like all VFX. So like the muzzle flash will go off, you'll see the flames, but you won't see it on the reflection of the skin. It won't light the people up. This used it very well, especially both in the gun shootout scene and when Batman's going to Falcone and it's completely black. That's one of my favorite shots in the movie.
You're talking about the shot that's lit exclusively with muzzle flashes. Yeah. Oh, when it hits his armor, it sparks, and it's a different kind of light
than the actual muzzle flash.
Instead of like the more orange, you get a little bit whiter of a light when he's walking towards the guy getting shot up. I mean, what can you say? You've seen it. You know how good it is. We don't need to sit here and tell you about it, but you know it.
Oh man, I love it. Oh, I'm gonna geek out.
Yeah, we're geeking out a bit.
But another thing when it comes to camera placement is when Riddler is sitting in the cafe right before he lets them catch him, which I thought that was really interesting. He lets them catch him because it's part of his plan.
All part of the plan.
And the shot from the exterior looking into the cafe is almost identical to the painting Nighthawks. It's the painting of the man sitting at the cafe through the window. They if you put them side by side, it's a tad different, but I just loved like the little homage to it. It looks really cool. I don't know if you necessarily caught that when we watched.
No, I had no idea. Genuinely, until you showed me the painting, and I saw it for myself. It was true. Now, was that a deliberate homage?
I like to think so. I can't imagine a shot like that. Like, there's so much to that connects, like, the curvature of the window and everything.
Right, okay.
That I think it has to be. But I just love it.
It's interesting how an artist can look at different mediums of art and implement it in their form. And that's something I think everyone can benefit from, is taking reference of other art that you're inspired by and using that in your work. Because as filmmakers, we do all the time.
Even the music of this movie is all...
Oh, for sure.
It's less score and it's more like sourced music, which I think is very, very good.
It's cool. And then in the score, there are little references to the old Batman scores, right? Michael Giacchino, during the Batmobile sequence, used a tiny little sequence of the Nolan Batman or the Clooney Batman here and there. And you recognize it, and it gives you a little moment of joy.
It works the same as reusing the same song in the movie. It gives you that hint of recognition.
And as filmmakers, it's insane how much we reference things we like in our movies, right? Like
we stand on the shoulder of giants.
That's very true. We stand on the shoulders of giants and hope that we're one day going to be the giants that other people are stood on our shoulders.
Which I understand lots of people kind of look at that and be like, well, they're just copying this movie. Like, that's just a ripoff of this movie. But there's lots of times, yes, that's the case. I mean, I watched, this movie, The Hustle. It's just like, it's Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, which is like a Steve Martin movie. It's just like the female version of it.
Okay.
There's times like that where it's just kind of like blatantly obvious. But there's lots of times where like you can pay homage, you can use something and change it for the better.
Yeah.
Where it's used so well. Probably every movie you've ever seen pays homage to something.
And a keen-eyed viewer would notice that. You know,
definitely if you've seen what they're referencing before.
How many times as a viewer have you caught something in a movie and been like, oh, no way? Like the Wilhelm scream.
Yeah.
You know?
The typical scream that you've heard in every movie almost.
Yeah. It started out as just a sound bit for an old Western movie and then turned into probably one of the first memes to ever exist in the world. And now every movie from Brokeback Mountain to Blade Runner at this point, probably
Star Wars
so made it famous, you know, has used that in one clip or another. And when you catch it, you're like, what a funny thing.
I love it. One of the other favorite things kind of when it came to shots. The whole sequence of kind of the flooding and stuff.
yeah.
Obviously, they didn't practically flood the city. They definitely maybe flooded the part of the arena
Yeah.
when they're in there. But when it comes to the actual shots where you cut back and forth between the carving of the Gotham in the floor to the actual shots of the city flooding, this is my guess of how they did it. There's a thing in film that's used, well, it's used in the Christopher Nolan Batmans with the Batmobile, but also used like in things like Lord of the Rings a lot, in Star Wars, is the actual use of miniatures. So it's like a smaller version of the actual thing. So when you scale something down, you just make a smaller version of it, usually to an actual ratio. There's a lot of math involved.
Yeah, for sure.
So with those shots, what they probably did is built a small set, ran water through it, and then added like things like glass breaking, add people running around, all that in VFX to really sell it. If that's how they did it so incredibly well that it looks so real.
For sure.
You feel it as the city's flooding, and it's just...
And pair that with the match cutting of the art with the overhead carving of the city that the
cutting
Riddler
from
did.
one thing to something almost identical.
Yeah, and it was nearly a perfect match in shape, right? It was phenomenal.
So good. I love that. Just the art of this movie, like how amazing the Riddler's apartment looked.
Yeah, we could go for hours about the art, but I think we could sum it up a few little pieces here. The art of the whole movie was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was one of its strongest pieces was the art work into this movie.
Right.
The Riddler's apartment is the obvious one.
It was definitely like the biggest haul of everything, is making that apartment look as cool as it did, as Pepe Sylvia as it could.
Yeah.
Which I love that so much. It looks so amazing.
The
You
amount
go
of
in there.
Coming from working in the art department on a couple of movies, it's not easy to do that. A big rule is if it looks good to you in the room, you need to add double of what's in it for it to look good on camera. And that whole entire apartment was cluttered.
And that's what is like, and that adds so much character to him,
Oh, yeah.
even though it's not necessarily something related to the acting or the directing.
No, definitely. Being able to make that space come alive with just what it looks like is a true talent.
Mm-hmm.
And they do that with the Batcave, with Wayne Manor.
Even the club is so well designed.
Penguin's little office in the club is so neat.
You're overlooking everything.
Of course.
So cool.
You know, and it's the
Even
little detail.
Falcone's is like even double as cool as...
Yeah, you've got the whole bridge in the background. It's all like extravagant, big mob boss type style. But that's
like penthouse apartment too.
Yeah, but that's all art. That's all important. It's
stuff they think about. It's not just something that they're like, oh, this is cool.
I'm sure that the decisions that went into the art were probably one of the most important things they decided on.
And a really important thing about the look is that this film is, as a genre, is neo-noir.
Okay. Tell me a bit about that.
So neo-noir is basically a noir film. At first is like, you know, those old detective movies, black and white.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's very, very harsh lighting. So like definitely one side is like very lit, one side isn't. Like there's a lot of cigarette smoke, so everything's fogged. Like just those old black and white detective movies. Those are noir movies. So a neo-noir is kind of a new, colorful, like think of like Blade Runner 2049 colors. That's basically what a neo-noir is they're taking those old black and white harsh detective movies but adding color to it. It wasn't necessarily as much, well, there was a lot of like colorful moments to it, but this movie very much stuck to black and red.
Yeah.
And they did it very well, and they stuck to those colors very well. There's a lot of like maybe blues or oranges, typical other colors, but
for the most part,
so well.
Very one-to-one lighting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is almost an equal light to shadow ratio of lighting.
Mm-hmm. So the brightest part of the face is the same as the darkest part of the face.
In complete contrast, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is very typical of noir films.
Mhm.
And neo-noir, including color into it, gives you a lot of good opportunity. Like you said, with Black and Red, the first thing that comes to my mind is when he's leading the people in the stadium out from under all the debris with the flare, and it's
the bright red flare.
beautiful.
It's not necessarily everything's lit. Like if you're standing outside, you're lit by that like kind of white daylight, and there all the whites are turned to red basically, and all the blacks are still, all the shadows still black. But it's just so it looks so beautiful. Those shots with that flare are just wonderful.
If this is a neo-noir, I like neo-noir.
And also carries the trait. I mean, this isn't necessarily art, but it definitely carries the trait of the typical noir story, like the detective story, where it's a lot more of like the detective trying to solve the case, where the woman comes in and there's all the mob bad guys. It has that feel, which most Batmans don't normally have. But this Batman is a detective, basically at heart. And I actually really enjoyed that. It was a really good take on the Batman.
Yeah, it grounded the Batman back into a bit more of a realism, albeit very distorted realism.
Yeah,
but,
of course.
But realism to a viewer. Honestly, with that, sums it up, I think, with Batman. Do you have anything else to add on it, or?
I think with this Batman, from all the other Batmans, and I will be honest, it's been a long time since I've seen like the Nolan Batmans, and this one takes Batman and makes him very human and less superhero. Like with his tactile fighting, he definitely like, you see more like brain fighting than like brutal strength fighting. And it's just, he feels like going back and forth between Bruce Wayne. You just feel like him more of as a human, and I think that was very well written. And adding him as like more of a detective really helped with that. And I think that was probably my favorite part of the movie, was really feeling a Bruce Wayne Batman that they weren't solar opposites. They had the same motivation, and if he just, I was able to connect with him a lot more, I think.
That's good. I like that.
But yeah.
If I had to say one thing about the Batman, is I like that it's an experienced Batman. I'm glad we didn't get the origin story of Batman.
I also very much appreciate
it. It did a great job taking Batman as a character and developing him as a character within his own world, rather than everyone knowing Batman and this is Batman. They really showed what it does to him. They really showed that, morally gray lines can appear depending on how long you've been doing something and what you truly believe. And I think they did a great job showing his development back into a moral standing that probably Batman, when he started, would have preferred.
Yeah.
Right? He's been doing this 2 years, and now he's getting back to being a hero rather than a tool of revenge.
Yeah.
Which I think was a good choice for the story.
I think definitely one thing you see, because like they don't give, like they expect you to know the backstory of Batman, especially with the connection he has with the mayor's son. When you know the backstory of Batman, as he looks at that kid, it's so powerful. His little guardian angel he takes for that kid, where we don't have to be like, oh yeah, Batman was an orphan, so he understands what he's going through. You used visual cue to tell that connection, and he never says, oh, I'm gonna watch over this kid. You just see him do it, and I really like that.
I agree. This movie was filled with a lot of really good moments. This movie was filled with a lot of beauty,
a lot of love, a lot of hate.
This movie was filled with a lot of moments that I didn't prefer. But overall, it's an experience, something that I think 90% of viewers would enjoy, even if you're not huge into superheroes. It's worth watching. The storytelling is good. The art is phenomenal. Cinematography is a spectacle.
Yeah.
The Batman is probably one of the best Batmans to exist right now.
People might not agree with us, but that's
my little 2 cents on it. Coming from someone who's watched all of the Batman movies, I'm very impressed. and I hope to see more.
Yeah, they're definitely teasing more.
Oh, I hope
And
so.
I really hope it's genuine. With that tease of the Joker, I'm excited.
Let's see how this Joker turns out.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, guys, that's just my mixed reviews.
Yeah, mine too.
And we're glad you were along with us for this movie.
Yeah, we'll see you next time for whatever movie we decide to watch next week.
Oh, yeah. It'll be good.
Good. All right. Bye.
Bye.